So looking at today's world, what do you believe are the biggest challenges preventing people from living healthier and longer lives? And as you think about this question, I want you to move beyond just the simply identifying problems. I want you to reflect on the patterns you have observed through your own work. And what have people struggled with repeatedly? What have you seen? And what blind spots have you seen that many people just don't seem to recognize until later? So, who wants to go first on this one?
Well, again, as a psychologist, I certainly concur with what has been said uh, currently, but we have to consider the mental piece as well, and I believe that what is interfering many times uh, with health in general is that people are trying to do it alone.
Mhm.
I mean, as a psychologist, of course, I saw in my almost 50-year career, I saw hundreds, if not thousands, of people and helped them, of course, clarify their mental issues and what was going on. And of course, I congratulate those people for making that choice to see someone. But as I'm sure we all are aware, there's a real stigma about seeking mental health treatment. And so in the answer to your question, one of the concerns I think that is getting in the way is that people are not seeking the help they need. Now, I was preparing for this question, and so help me. It just came about. Last week, I was speaking with a friend of mine uh, who's in his 60s, and we were talking, and I said, "When's the last time you had a physical?" And he said, "I'm healthy. What do I need a physical for?" He said, "Maybe in my 40s." So he hasn't, he says, "I'm not sick." You know, so he hasn't seen a doctor in 40 years. Well, guess what? He went to finally, with my strong suggestion, and saw my physician, as a matter of fact, had a complete physical, and went straight to the hospital and had two stints put in.
Wow.
He was on his way to a heart attack, and so on. Many people. My point is that many people are doing it alone, and no, there are many well trained medical doctors, of course, and psychological professionals that can help you along this road of being healthy.
Perfect. One thing that I heard you say is, I'm healthy. My question would be, compared to what, right? And that's what you just help with prove with your scenario there. That person thought they were healthy, but compared to what? What they were aware of. Excellent.
Right.
Very good. Who wants to go next?
I
I'll go
can do
next.
that.
Oh,
Okay,
go ahead.
Sora.
No, go ahead.
Shall
Sora,
I
go
go?
ahead.
Oh, okay. Um, well, I appreciate what Dr. Waldman said, but I have a different take on this. Based on the people that I've worked with, I find people to be non-committed. So if you come to me with a problem, like a weight problem, and I teach you this program I developed, which is a mind management technique, but you don't apply it, then you're making a choice, a conscious choice not to commit. So what I find about most people is they're not willing to do the work. They're not willing to take the steps to consistently commit, whether it's to a therapist, whether it's to a practice. But the thing about therapy, and the reason I like a person to be empowered by actual techniques they can draw on at the moment is because I live on in Manhattan, and there's a bus that passes me all the time, and it says life happens between your therapy sessions. Life happens, 99% of life happens between your therapy sessions. So I'm all about teaching tools that at that moment of pain, at that moment when you're going to eat the whole cake, you know how to eat and stop. And then you can see your therapist, which I'm not, and you can discuss why you might want to eat the whole cake. But I think, I don't want to use the word lazy. I just think people today are very overwhelmed. And I think they're not willing to commit to a practice. They're not willing to commit to a practice. And it's only through constant repetition can you heal yourself. Another thing that I've noticed is that there's a lot of resistance to healing. Because in my own opinion, when you heal, you have to put death to something and you move to the unknown. And that's part of the process, but people don't know that. They think if they put death to something, a pattern, whatever, that they're dead. But the truth is you have to die to recreate. But I think that should be spoken about more, that healing is a process. And you might start with a resistance to something, but it's a process. And the other end is growth. And I don't think that's talked about enough. I think that would provide the person who needed help with a very hopeful, positive way of looking at any psychological process.
Perfect. So, but I'm going to ask you something, Sora. If a person has difficulty committing to something, what if that's a psychological barrier? What if that's a belief system that was programmed into them? How do you work with that?
Well, I'm not a therapist. I'm an educator who developed her own program. So the way I feel about that in my life now is that if you're not ready to work with me after we've had our initial discussion, after you've taken a look at what I present, we're not right. You're not ready. And I so respect not being ready. I believe that my gift to anyone is allowing them their space, not trying to control them, allowing them to be where they are at the time they are. So my gift to them is a discussion. Okay, I'm good with that. When you feel ready, come back to me. They may come back, they may not come back, but my gift to you is your space.
Okay, perfect. Dr. Annika.
Okay, I totally agree on that with what Sora is saying, and that if you're not ready, you're not ready, and people have to do what they want to do. I can't force anyone, so that's how it is. And when I see this problem, what's the biggest challenge is preventing people from living better and longer lives is when we look at the world today, how life is, it's not fit for our long-term biological limits from back 200,000 years ago, because we are built for regularity, healthy food, regular rest and sleep, and movement. And that's just the base of how we as bodies and minds function. And the world today offers so much fast food in enormous amounts, and we eat too much because our brain doesn't know when to stop, because we don't know when we will get food again, because that's what we are programmed. And we also eat a lot because so much of that fast food is fat and sugar, and that makes us feel good here, and we keep eating because, yes, I want more, I want more, I want more. Our bodies were also made for movement and hunting for food, hunting animals or walking and picking berries and all those stuff. And now we can sit as a couch potato and you can just binge eat everything, and you can order it and they will come home to you. So the society helps the bad parts of how our brain functions, or the backside of it. And we also have a 24/7 society giving us our brain very short rests. It keeps going all the time. Our brains are meant to live like 12 hours of light and 12 hours of dark, and then we would rest. And all these factors, they take a toll on our bodies and derange the body from the inside out. And that's how we get ill and die earlier. And
so how did you get past that though? Did you just have something inside you that just said, I need to pay attention to this? Was that just something that was inside you already, or what did you have to do?
well, it's about knowledge, and you have to have some understanding of what these processes are, and then sometimes you need a helping hand, like a mentor or a coach. Just like Sora saying, if I can help you to do these things, if you want to. If you don't want to, don't go this route with me, because it's you're taking my time and we're taking your money, and it's not worth it.
I think that is that's a challenge,
It
because
is a
we're always
challenge.
taught to help everybody. And
Yes,
I think it's you're actually removing the person's knowledge that they have the power when we help people that don't ask for help. Do you see that, Dr. Annika?
when they don't ask for help,
Yes,
if they don't ask for help, who's gonna? There is no way to help people who don't ask for it or who don't open their eyes, because I can't see through people. But I have, with all the patients that I've met over the years, I mean thousands, there are sometimes you just have to understand, I can't force you anymore, I can't do anymore, you just have to live. And I can see that they are going down the bad route, but I can't do anything about it, because I can only live my own life and they can only live their own lives.
exactly. Perfect. Excellent. Okay, Michael.
Yeah, I think certainly, I think the initial perception in this area would be things like deficiencies and stress and lack of regular sleep, exercise, all those things that are really problematic in the modern world, especially due to an absence of local, organic, fresh food, so that the food we're eating is demineralized and everything. But I think from sort of the frequency healing perspective, there's two interesting lenses to apply here. One is the concept that the mind has to come first, and then the body follows, because what we often find with these frequency technologies is that they don't care what the mind thinks. They can just facilitate healing very rapidly, obviously depending on what the modality is. But I think that is only a part of the picture. I think the biggest problem probably is a combination of patterns or programs, but an even bigger one than that is quite simply that people very often, when we're talking about probably any of these related subjects, it's just outside someone's conceptual framework. So I would equate that to a blind spot, if you like. So we're all looking at each other now. We all see each other absolutely clearly. But until I mention it, we've forgotten about our blind spot, because our brain tends to fill in this information. So I think the most fundamental sort of conceptual side of this is just simply the understanding that other things are possible. And quite often we can create an intellectual box for ourselves, out of which nothing else really exists. So, and that closes down our openness to possibilities. And I think that this is really probably one of the most fundamental problems. And then there's the feeling of disempowerment, which is okay, that might be possible, but how am I going to deal with this? So the technologies have a very sort of interesting potential role to play here. But I do think this is quite prevalent in society, this very, very sort of limited conceptual box within which we operate. And that, in a way is also a denial of hope. Because if people really have hope, then I think it gives them a sense of purpose as well, and a sense of capacity, that there are, typically little incremental steps that we can take actually to start to improve the situation. But sometimes we can make huge leaps, of course, as well. And this is where, the frequency-based technologies are especially interesting with their application to psychology. So just as a little sort of example of that, when we deal with chronic illnesses, what we tend to find is that so we're talking about, long-term, often degenerative illnesses, for example, that when we treat those successfully, what happens is that the latest symptoms get resolved, and then the prior symptoms and the symptoms before that and the symptoms before that. And my observation is that this also works on an emotional level as well, so that the immediate sort of emotional problem gets dealt with, but that's not necessarily the resolution of the issue. There's a prior one and a prior one before that can also be supported by these technologies. But I do think
Okay.
that this conceptual box is the most problematic issue for most people.